this is part 16, the quality of your attention. Now, I've been looking forward to doing this one for a while because there are some real benefits. There's some real good information here, some practices, and some things to think about that have really helped improve the quality of my life and the quality of my attention. And I'm really happy to be able to share this with you. So think about this. If you are what you eat, you are also what you take into your mind, right? Most computers have an antivirus application or a firewall that prevents or reduces damage to the PC, right? They can block things from getting in and causing damage. Your immune system in your body is the same way, right? It's running to help mitigate harm to your body. But what about your mind? What kind of system do you have in place to protect your brain and your mind against harm, right? And I'm not just talking about plugging your ears and closing your eyes. I'm not listening, that kind of stuff, right? But as things come into your mind, you can cultivate a habit or a practice of this little watcher in your mind, sitting back going, all right, what's coming in here? What is this? Right? Like a firewall, like an antivirus. What is this all about? What is this message? Well, maybe that's not really a good message. Or this message is, I can feel this message is helpful to me, right? Or I can feel this message there's really nothing here for me. Why am I taking in this message into my mind, right? You can cultivate this watcher behind the person, right? The person you believe you are, that we get wrapped up in. We believe we are this person. You can have this little watcher, just kind of watching, right? Not judging, not labeling, just going, oh, that's interesting. That's coming in here. Okay. All right, let's see what happens here. And then you can reflect on that later on, right? And evaluate what was coming into you at the time and how it made you feel, right? So developing some kind of system, developing a firewall for your mind is incredibly helpful. In fact, it's the most primary, it's one of the most primary things you should do even before watching what you eat. You should watch your thoughts. So the function of the intellect, or the buddhi mind, that's the yogic component of the mind that's just analyzing everything and chopping everything into bits and what if this, what if that, and analyzing, just overanalyzing the crap out of everything, right? That intellectual mind dissects and inspects everything. So if your thoughts are going all over the place and you're letting that process just pile up and happen, you'll invariably cut yourself into many small pieces and proceed to analyze every disconnected part that you cut, right? Chances are, now if you have a watcher, if you install this firewall in your mind, if you bring this watcher to bear, and the watcher can go, this hasn't happened yet. This is an imaginary thing. A worry hasn't happened. But the potential of this happening is maybe not so high, but yet it's being reviewed as if it's could be a real event. Well, that's interesting, right? Cultivate this watcher. And so without, years of meditation practice, one cannot always remain peaceful and simply let negative or damaging thoughts float by like clouds, right? They come into the mind and they can take you on a wild ride, right? Combine this with being rather free and loose about what you take into your mind in the first place, and real biological damage can occur, right? So if you're in this state where you already have a lot of negative thoughts coming in, right? And then on top of that, your watcher is not talking to you and saying, hey, this probably isn't the best message for you. If you're letting a lot of these things in, that's just compounding the issue, right? That's compounding this hornet's nest, this beehive of just crazy thoughts just swirling around over and over, right? That's not good. You need to try to find some way to watch that, right? To have kind of like a firewall, like I said, to have some discernment about what's coming in. So what you can do right now is improve the quality of your attention consciously by choosing what you pay attention to, right? And initially, this quality of your attention is far more important than choosing what you eat, right? And the reason it's more important to discern what comes into you, to pay attention to heighten the quality of your attention, is because eventually you'll start thinking about what it is that you're also, not only what you're taking into your mind, but what you're taking into your body, what you're eating, right? So that'll naturally take care of itself. And also the thing about meditation is, for me personally, meditation, the Zazen style of meditation, the sitting meditation, never really worked for me. So I do the more traditional, the older form of meditation, which is kinhin. It's a walking meditation. And this is something you can do anywhere. If you have a Japanese garden in your city, look and see if you do. If you do, go to the Japanese garden when you have a chance. And if there's a tour guide there, take the tour. And hopefully you'll have a knowledgeable tour guide who can help you understand that the Japanese garden is there to bring out all 5 of your senses. Okay? A good Japanese garden is specifically designed as a walking meditation. And it will bring out all of your 5 senses, and on top of that, it will also bring a higher level of awareness. This is a very real, substantial, and practical and effective technique that you can do right now, right, is to practice this kinhin walking meditation if Zazen doesn't work for you. So, no other simple practice when I'm talking about paying attention to what's coming in, right? Having a high quality of attention. No other simple practice than the quality of your attention can bring as much instant relief and calm to the mind than this, at least to my knowledge anyway. I'm always open to suggestions if you know of some other techniques. I've explored quite a few, but I'm always open to new ideas, right? Because I'm a wisdom seeker just like you. I'm open to ideas. So this is a quote from a fantastic book called How to Read a Book. It's a rather dry book, but it's got some great practical advice on how to read a book by Mortimer J. Adler. All the sources of amusement and information that surround us in our daily lives are also artificial props. They can give us the impression that our minds are active because we are required to react to stimuli from the outside. But the power of those external stimuli to keep us going is limited. They are like drugs. We grow used to them, and we continuously need more and more of them to feel normal. Remember that I mentioned this because I'm going to mention this again in this section a little bit later. This idea of continuously needing more and more to feel normal. Okay? Eventually they have little or no effect. Then if we lack resources within ourselves, we cease to grow intellectually, morally, and spiritually. And we cease to grow, we begin to die. Okay? What Adler's talking about with resources within ourselves, okay, a big component of that, I believe, is cultivating the watcher within yourself, right? Not the thinker, not the one who's worrying about this or that and all of these things that could happen in the future. Oh no, what's going to happen? None of them have happened. You're just imagining all of these things, right? The watcher, the component in your mind that is watching the things that come in. And is, over time, this watcher is not a policeman. This watcher is not a dictator. This watcher is only a watcher. He's only an observer. That's it. And over time, the observer drops nice little clues or little hints to the thinker, right? And says, hey, this stuff coming in, I don't know. How do you feel? Maybe the watcher's asking the intellect, how do you feel when these come in? Does this make you feel better? How do you feel when you think about this all the time? Even though you've been imagining. That's interesting, isn't it? Right? So, think about cultivating that quality of attention. Cultivate that higher level of awareness. Cultivate your own watcher. It's not a thinker, it's just an observer. He's just, or she's just observing. Just observe, right? Try a walking meditation and just get used to the idea of observing. Just observe, right? Don't label everything this, that, and da, 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 da. That's the buddhi mind. That's the mind that likes to chop everything up. That's the intellect, right? Cultivate the observer. You are what you pay attention to, okay? Now, this doesn't mean you need to pretend like everything in the world is nicey nice and you must escape negative thoughts completely, right? This is otherwise known as New Age bullshit. And that kind of thinking is a recipe for failure, okay? Nor does this mean you have to pretend that you're some sort of type A personality who's in control of everything and getting a bunch of things done in order to feel good about yourself, right? You don't have to pretend to be anything. You can just be yourself. However, this approach does work for people who really authentically are type A. There are type A people out there that this works for them, and that's great. The quality of your attention has more to do with what sort of mental stimulation you are allowing into your mind, and what do you prohibit, right? Not only what you allow, but what do you go, I'm not going to let that come in anymore. I'm choosing not to do that anymore, right? Developing a conscious awareness of what you are doing in every moment is the key to improving the quality of your life. This conscious awareness doesn't mean you put yourself on probation. Conscious awareness doesn't mean that you impose, restrictions on yourself, right? That's not what this means, right? You want to be good to yourself, right? It also doesn't mean that you rush over to the other extreme, right? For example, maybe there's someone who is a cigarette smoker and they quit cold turkey, right? Even though they know they're going to be miserable, even though no one's going to like them, no one's going to want to be around them. They're just the worst person ever now, and they're just going to quit cold turkey, right? Maybe that isn't going to work for you, right? You have to be consciously aware and let the observer show you the way, right? You can't, first of all, you're never going to be perfect, right? And I don't tend to trust people that don't have at least one vice anyway, right? Not to say that you should just keep smoking if you're a smoker and you want to quit, right? But find another vice. Maybe find a vice that's healthier and replace it. with the smoking, for example, right? So instead of looking at, so the idea here is that this isn't perfection, right? You're not looking on Instagram and going, oh man, this guy's amazing, he's perfect, and da-da-da, or this woman, she's perfect, and boy, I wish I had her life, No one's life is perfect, so let's throw that away. So instead of looking at your phone in line at the grocery store, here's a very small example, and it's very useful. Instead of looking at your phone, right, you have that instinct to, bring up your phone if you're one of those. I don't even bring my phone in the store, so that's one thing you can do. Leave your phone in your car, right? And then just have a really good look around. I love doing this. I just look at people. I look at how many people are on their phones. But seriously, observe yourself. Take that time in line at the grocery store. Of all the most ordinary, mundane, overlooked things, in line at the grocery store is actually a great time for the observer to say, hey, you know what? Let's observe. Let's look around, right? So observe yourself and the people around you closely. And if you do this every day, just a little bit, or a few times a week, you can level up your powers of awareness and build upon your vast inner resources. These inner resources that Adler was talking about in the last quote there. Try it for an entire day, a few days, and then for a week. Your mental state and mood will improve dramatically. One important component of the value of attention, or the quality of attention, I should say, is the value judgment. The value judgment is a label of like or dislike that many people automatically assigned to just about everything that presents itself in their minds. It happens thousands of times in a day, and it can be extremely exhausting. And it will most certainly obscure your mind from seeing the world as it truly is, right? And allowing you the mental freedom to explore your world as deeply as you would like to, okay? Because don't you want that? Don't you want to let the observer just observe for a while instead of just labeling every single thing? I like this, I like that. That's good, that's bad. I don't like that, I like this. There are people that will do this, and unconsciously, of course, and it's it can be very painful to be around, right? I'm sure I'm sure you've all met these kind of people. Every single thing seems to be some kind of a judgment, right? It's either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Try listening carefully to people's conversations around you, and one pattern of thought becomes blatantly clear. This pattern of, I like this, I don't like that, right? Wash, rinse, repeat. Unfortunately, once you notice it, it's hard to unnotice it, right? But it teaches you something. These people are teaching you something. And in objective reality, good and bad are completely irrelevant, right? This is just a subjective mind game, really. So in our subjective reality, good and bad, they are important distinctions to make. You must make them in order to navigate your reality, right? You have to be able to make good decisions, right? And here I go. See, there's a value judgment right there. You have to make good decisions, right? So I caught myself there. Knowing which is to understand the things that truly matter, the things which do not matter in a big picture sense. So there's some things that are worth saying this is a good thing, this is a bad thing. But a lot of things can just be left to the observer, right? Let the observer, let the person, let the watcher, the person who's the watcher, this little watcher in your mind, Let the watcher just watch instead of the intellect always slicing up as good or bad, right? That's what the intellect is trying to take over, right? People go their entire lives convinced that they are their intellect, which is completely preposterous. They really do believe that, right? And it's a tragedy. So only you know what is best for you. Only you know if sitting in traffic an extra 30 minutes one day is truly bad or good, right? Maybe it's neither. Depends on your perspective. But if you can release that, if you can let go of that, if you can bring the quality of your attention to a point where the observer just observes, right? You can learn so much, and you can use your inner faculty, your inner resources will start to develop more and more, and then you will see the world in completely new, untold ways, and it will change your life.